Hey guys, it's Gareth here from True Spiritual Awakening. Today I'm going to talk about a recent shift that I had, and I'm going to talk. Um, I'm just going to give an overview of the sort of time frame where it took for me to get to um, this recent shift in consciousness, and I'll just kind of talk briefly about how it came about. Now, it wasn't a shift in perceptions. If you've been following my videos, I've kind of given it's almost like a map. I've mapped out the different stages along the journey of awakening for others, just as a point of reference that they can use as they awaken on their own journey. So I had about a year ago, a little bit over a year ago, I had shifted into Brahman consciousness, no self, and then there was a sort of a coming back into creation from the realization. No, it's not even so much. Brahman is not so much a realization. It's you become Brahman. So, and Brahman is just the no self, and you become the no self. And it's only when you are the no self that you can know the the Brahman or the no self state. Um, so from the Brahman, I started to come back into creation. The soul comes back down into creation, and it starts to bring all these divine forces with it. Now, as a dynamic channel to then kind of bring them forces into the world to help others. And there was no there was no shift into this kind of parabrahman state. It was kind of just a gradual thing. Um, along the lines, there were some very definite shifts. The first shift into self-realization, that was a big one, a kind of a snap. Unity consciousness, there was a big change in the perceptions. And then obviously the shift into Brahman. For me, it was kind of gradual, unlike others I've heard about, where they just kind of go into it and it's a big shock to the system. Before I had gone into unity consciousness, I had been going into these really deep samadhi states, nirvikalpa samadhi. So I was getting tastes of what Brahman was when I was in these samadhi states. But I had to go through the unity shift first before I could fully go into that or become the Brahman. So from the Brahman, the soul then comes back into creation. It starts to bring in the forces, the supramental forces, some of the other divine forces. Um, uh, And again, it was this kind of a gradual kind of, oh, I'm coming back in, I'm feeling bliss. Because in Brahman, there's not a whole lot going on in Brahman. It's very hard to talk about. Um, but when you start coming back into the parabrahman, there's the bliss starts to come in. There's there's almost like even the God consciousness stage um, starts to come back in. You start to see uh, God in your surroundings, but again, not a permanent shift. This kind of gradual, um, kind of moving in slowly. And again, the divine forces were coming in all the time. The Sat, Shakti was really really strong. But again, nothing had kind of become like a shift or a permanent state in this kind of moving into the parabrahman. Um, so about a month ago, a little bit, sorry, about a year ago, I started to get these, as I was moving into parabrahman, I started to get these tastes of what's known as pure divinity. And the pure divinity, to me, it felt like it was coming in through the top of the head. It felt like a light coming into the system. Uh, and it kind of had this liquidy kind of a feel to it. And it wasn't a lot. I got some little flashes of it, some insights, um, glimpses of it, and I could go, oh, okay, that's what that is, because I had read about it, and so uh, all along, I kind of knew that there was this, gradual kind of um, a progression into this parabrahman, but nothing definite, no shifts, no snaps, like any of the other ones. Um, about a month ago, I started to notice this force that was coming in through the top of my head. It would come. It would feel like it opens up, and this force was coming flowing in, and it had this very distinctive liquid. If I could kind of close my eyes and imagine it, it felt like a kind of a platinum silvery liquid that was coming in through the top of my head, shimmering. It would come down, it would saturate the cells of the body, and it was really blissful. Now, it wasn't Shakti and it wasn't the Sat, but it uh, it seemed to contain both of these somehow, and um, it entered in almost like where the supermental force would come in through, but it wasn't the supermental. It was blissful. It was divine. It had a holiness to it. Uh, the cells of the body were buzzing with bliss and divinity, and it was just magical, really, really magical. It would almost bring me back to the really blissful states I had when Kundalini was rising in my system. But again, it was a different, it had a different quality to it. Um, so that started to come in a little bit over a month ago, about maybe about 5 weeks ago, and it came in on one of my intensives I was doing over a weekend. On the second day, just came in, opened up, boom, and I seemed to be able to transmit it into the group, and I was blown away by this. And then for a number of days after the weekend intensive, every time I would go to work with someone online or do one of my meditations, this force started to come in. So again, I would normally work with people. I would do Shaktipat or work with the super mental force, and I would go to initiate that to get it started, and all of a sudden this force would start to come in, and it would overpower the Shakti or the Sat and come in. But again, it came in for a couple of days, uh, all the time, and then started to fade off, and so there was definitely the divine forces were coming in, but they were not permanent. So by permanent I mean that um, they kind of were just coming by themselves. So the Shakti was always there. I could always the Shakti no problem. The Sat I could bring it in just by putting my attention on it. But the this pure divinity uh, as what it's known. Um, this I couldn't. I didn't. And when it comes in, it's almost like that. It seems to be like a god force or this because while you're in it, you uh, it's almost like God. It's like, oh, this is God. I am God, and there's no ego in it. There's no ego there saying I am God. That's not what it is. But it's almost like that you cannot know it. You cannot know God until you become God, or you cannot know Krishna until you become Krishna. And I've gotten glimpses. I've had the Krishna consciousness come in before, and came in for I don't know 3 or 4 hours, and while it's in, you're like, oh, I am Krishna. There's no separation between me and that that force, the Krishna consciousness. Um, so this divinity to me feels like it's the God force. It's and so, but I hadn't. There was something missing, and I was kind of getting this feeling. And I was studying the work of Swami Atmananda, um, and he was talking about it not being fully uh, fully done until you have merged completely with this force, this as he would refer to it as a God merger. So you merge fully with it. One of the stages is that they're coming in and you're experiencing, but it's not a full God realization until it's there all of the time. So about this time last week, so it was last Wednesday, I took my two boys down to a caravan I have, and we were sat there, and all of a sudden the force started to come in again, and it was really blissful. And I sat outside, and I was, and I kept getting these these kind of mental images of the god Vishnu. I just kept Vishnu kept coming up, and this holiness was coming down through my system, and I was sat out in nature, and I could hear all the birds, and it was like I am this, and I just begged, I just said, please, I beg of you to let me fully merge with this force and to become a dynamic channel for it to come into this creation. And I begged, I begged, I begged, um, please, please, this is all I want, this is all I want. And about 4 hours later, it was stayed for a while, and I was like, oh, wow, this is amazing. Every cell is just vibrating with bliss, and it started to close up. And I was like, oh, okay, well, let's just keep going. I didn't put too much attention on it. I felt the next day I kind of got up, and I felt a little bit deflated. I had thought that, this was it. But um, so I felt a little bit empty, a little bit almost like that the force had come in and it expanded me so much that when it left, I kind of felt like I had been emptied out, or just, just that's just how it is. Um, Little did I know that there was probably a reason that the full merger didn't take place, because it took place the next night. And I was sat downstairs, and all of a sudden I could feel it. I had just finished the session. It was a late session at 7 o'clock. I had done it, and while I was doing it, I could kind of feel this force coming in again. It was like, oh, okay, here it is. Finished the session, went down and sat in the chair, and could feel it coming in really strong. And it's like, almost feels like your skull is cracking open, and this force is coming down. And I was sat there, and all of a sudden I got a vision of myself shaking on my bed, and I kind of went, oh, okay. And straight away I intuitively got the feeling that I need to get to my bed. So I got to my bed, and I was kind of sat upright like I am now, and um, it just started coming in. And when I say it's coming in, it feels like there is a waterfall, this cosmic waterfall that's coming down, and it's just like flowing down into your system. And it's like, if you can imagine this platinum, shimmering silver, uh, just flowing down into your system, and it's just like, wow. So I'm sat there, and it gets so intense that my legs start to move, and all of a sudden everything starts, my whole body starts going into these spasms, shaking. uh, just body is moving. And it's, I'm not one that has kriyas. I'm not one that shakes a lot, or even when I was you know doing Shaktipat or anything like that. I don't get a lot of kriyas. I don't think I've ever had a kriya. But during this, I started moving. Couldn't open my eyes while this force was coming down. And I knew. I was like, this is it. This is the merger. This is and it literally put me under while it was happening. Now I knew what was happening, even though I was having all these movements and shaking, and to anybody looking at me, it would look like I'm having a seizure. But on the inside, I'm. This is the best. This is like wow. But I'm moving around. There's noises coming out of my mouth, kind of moans and groans as this force is coming down and doing what it has to do. So I'm unresponsive. I can hear what's going on around me, but I can't speak. Can't speak. Can't communicate with anybody, and I just surrender completely to what's happening. So for about 2 hours, I was in these spasms, this shaking and moving, and sometimes my arms would go out almost like a zombie in front of me. My legs would rise up off the bed, and I would completely lock in that position. Then I would twist over onto my side, contortions in the body. About 2 hours of this force coming in. I then the spasms or the shaking started to kind of get less and less, and I could just lay there, but again the force was still just flowing through my body, and I was like, this is it. I knew what it was. I knew it was God realization, permanent God realization, or some sort of God merger. Um, but I knew that's what it was, and I knew that it had started the previous night, but I obviously wouldn't have been able to look after my boys and been in the caravan. So I got the feeling that it stopped. There's an intelligence to this force or these forces, and I think that yeah, just the time was better the following evening. So it just pretty much went on the entire night. I would kind of be going in and out of sleep. Um, so about 11 o'clock, I came out of the shaking. I still kind of in and out, in and out. But then they just quietened down about 11 o'clock, and I was able to kind of get into bed properly. And um, so I had the whole night. I was kind of in and out of sleep. The force was still coming in, and the next morning I woke up, and as soon as I sat up, I kind of felt a little bit more normal. I was exhausted. Sat up though, and as soon as I closed my eyes, the platinum, that platinum silvery shimmering consciousness was there. The force would just start to come in through my head, and I just sat there. And all of a sudden, I started to see some visions. My dad's um, higher self came to me, and he asked, could I work with him and help him, because he's also on the spiritual path. Um, and There was a few other visions that kind of just came in, um, but yeah. So as the day went on, it kind of quietened down a little bit. But anytime I closed my eyes and I kind of put my attention above my head, it would open up and it would come in. And so again, I never want to jump to conclusions. I just kind of wanted to sit with it for a while, and go a couple of days. So all that day, back functional, back could interact with people, could get up and do things around the house. Um, the following day, same thing again. Force would come down to the top of my head. um, uh, just as soon as I put my attention on it, and it just seemed to be there. Now, what changed? So perception wise, nothing changed, but there definitely seemed to be some sort of a an energetic um, uh, shift. So it's almost like that force, that God force, has now become this permanent, or I've become a permanent channel for it. And just by thinking about it or put my attention on it, it just, even while I'm talking now, I can feel it coming in. Um, so um, so okay, so what's happening when it's coming in? So how does my body feel it? Um, so um, so then I done an intensive this weekend, a couple of days ago. It's now Wednesday, so Saturday and Sunday. Um, Started the intensive off. This like straight away, this force starts coming in. My head, and again, I'm not one that moves, but my head is moving. My legs are kind of going in and out, back and forth. This kind of moving, wriggling as this force comes in, starts to fill up my system, and it's going out to the people that are in the intensive with me. Now, I'm not sure how they're perceiving it or they're feeling it, but I am in this state of bliss. There's bliss everywhere. It's in every cell of the body. I remember thinking my ankles. I could feel bliss in my ankles. I could feel it in my forearms. All the cells of my body are alive. I've got tears running down my face. I'm laughing. Um, I'm in love. I'm in love with everything. Everything is when I look at everything, when I look at everyone, I see God in them. I don't see their egos or their flaws. I just see God in everyone. I see myself in everyone. Um, and this force is just emanating. It's going out in all directions. It's coming in from all directions. It's flowing in through the top of the head. It stays for as long as I want, as long as I'm engaging with the people. We would do like I think we would do like a 90 minute or even an hour and 40 minute meditation. This force is flowing, and even when I stop, I'm into talking with them. It's still coming in. It's still coming in. I go on the break. While I'm making food, the force is just flowing in constantly, and it's not left. Now I can fully interact. I can fully come into human form. I can do what needs to do. I can exercise. While I'm exercising in the morning times, I can still feel it. I get up in between doing my exercises. It starts flowing. I was in the sea yesterday swimming. It's coming in. It's coming in. Walking, interacting, talking with my friend yesterday on the beach. It's just flowing in through the top of my head. So from what I look, I don't. There's not many people who talk about this, and there's no one to reference it. Um, but from what I can tell, it is uh, a, a permanent God realization. Um, and what that means is that I'm I'm both the individual and God in uh, coexisting in the one system or the one body. Um, yes, there's still a personality. I can interact with you. I still have jokes. I still have my dark sense of humor. But then this force just comes in, and it's the two are kind of coexisting in the one system, and my physical form is now a channel for that God force to come into creation, and all I want to do is to share it with everyone who wants to experience it, and that's what I love doing, and I hope that you can feel my enthusiasm that this is all I want to do in life. this is it for me. And I would have a million other lives. I've no problems coming back, because I love I love this life, and I love what I'm doing, and I could come back another million times to do this. I'm truly blessed beyond belief, and that's putting it mildly. So I've gone on for 25 minutes. I had no idea what I was going to talk about or what was going to come out of my mouth today. It just came. That's how I like to make these videos. I don't write stuff down. I don't have any plan on time. It's just that's what comes out. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you can come to my meditations, my Zoom meditations, and experience this force. You'll find the link to the Zoom meditation group on my website. You'll find the link in the description below. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you all soon. Bye bye.